My name is Alvin J. Noss Jr. and I was born in 1914 in Slocum. My father was an agent at Slocum, and his name was Alvin J. Noss. And my folks called me Junior and Joe and Joseph.
And you've been here 101 years next month?
I didn't quite get that.
And you will have lived here 101 years next month.
Oh yes, I will.
June.
101 years next month here in Slocum.
Always in Slocum, in the same house.
That's right, in the same house. About this picture of the Slocum station, those people sitting out in front are waiting for the morning train to go to the city. And this is where my father worked, and here there's two doors in front. The one on the right is the waiting room for the men. The one on the left is the ladies' waiting room. And the inside on the left, on the right rather, was a inside there was weigh scales, a pair of scales, and of course a ticket window. And there was something else I think of just now, is that when my father made entries in a ledger, he did it with an indelible pencil, and after that was done, he would have a damp something laid over and pressed down, and indelible writing would turn to ink, and it made it a permanent record.
How many cars on the train, Mr. Noss?
Well, it'd be, the train would come in, would have two passenger cars. One would be a smoker, and the other would be a regular car with no smoking. And in front of that would be a railway mail car, and a baggage car, and the first car behind the engine would be what we call a milk car. When the train stopped there was another platform on the other side, the crossing, with a big high-wheel cart, and it had a 20-gallon can of milk on it. It was brought down from a farm up in Exeter along Liberty Road, and that was drawn over to close to the rail car, and was put aboard the rail car and taken into the city for processing.
And what was the name of the train line?
That would be on the New Haven Railroad, at that time called the New York, New Hartford and Railroad Company.
And your father was the agent for how long?
Oh, my father worked here from 1912 to 1928. And that was the beginning of the Depression. And of course he had a chance to go to another station in Massachusetts, where because of his seniority, he was able to bump someone out of a job, and that was kind of bad. There's the view, the rear of this station shows the crossing, and yeah. Well, this is still the roof of the front. Shows the.
You want this one?
Yeah, that's okay. This is we got the tower there, which would be the control tower for the trains. They call that a block tower because this is set up in blocks from station to station, and the towerman had control of the trains through his area. He got his directions from the dispatcher in Providence over a telephone that he had, a railway telephone, not like an original common telephone we use in our houses. And he had those, in the tower, he had big control levers. He had control of the switches and control of the semaphore signals, and they were controlled by those big levers, by wires that were threaded through under the tracks and on little pulleys. And so sometimes it was pretty hard to pull that over. The switches would be harder to pull than the signals because they were just harder to pull, and they had to pull on those levers, pretty levers, put the foot up on the towerman, put his foot up on one lever and pull on the other lever, and pull it right over. So
how many trains a day?
There were at least 2 trains a day. And toward the end of it, before that, there was actually, I believe there was a train in the morning and a train at night, and there were trains at noon for a while.
Tell me about the white flag trains. The special trains, the white flag trains?
Oh, there's some trains came through that were specials. They weren't regular scheduled trains. There were specials and run for a certain purpose or run for passenger run for I can't think what it is. Excursions, like they would have the white flag showing that to be a sort of an extra train. Let's see.
And how many people would be down at the station on a given day?
And there'd be only people that are taking a train to the city or coming from the city, and there hardly be anybody else down there that I could ever remember.
But your father was busy. But your father was a busy man with the freight.
Yes, he was a busy man with the. My father had the freight there, and not kept him entirely busy though, because while he had to go out to the freight house and check the freight that had come in, perhaps in the afternoon from a local freight, things like that. It wasn't terribly busy from that standpoint. They had time off in the afternoon, was so slack, and the tarman had time off too, because at times there were trains were quite some distance away, like coming out of Boston or coming out of New Haven and so forth. So he had quite a bit of time before he had to do anything, like put the gates down or catch any emergency from the dispatcher, anything you might say. And so my father and the towerman would go out behind the tower where he had some stakes set up, and they'd pitch horseshoes for about whatever time they had, maybe 20 minutes or so. Not too long. I have to go back to work, because something might come, trains might come. Well, they have a schedule for that, but he has to be ahead of time. So there's a view looking behind the buildings.
Where was the horseshoe pit?
Pardon?
Where was the horseshoe pit?
Oh, behind this building here.
Behind this building?
Yeah.
Okay.
Behind that building.
All right. Now here's the station.
This is the other. This is the view of the buildings from the roadside. There's the back view of the tower and the station, and other buildings down to the left of the station, down the track, would be a baggage, probably for Railway Express to keep it safe until it's picked up. And there's a coal shed for supply of coal to keep them warm. And,
Tell me the soft coal story.
the freights used to go through there, bringing carloads of coal. The coal was something used quite a bit in those days, and so those trains would climb up Wickford Hill and go down the other side. That's by the Dry Bridge Road, and they would get to bouncing a little bit. It can't help it sometimes. The freights travel along, the cars kind of bounce, and the coal would be heaped up on the cars, and it would roll off from time to time, and along those stretches where the tracks are rough and the trains go fast. And those coal could be picked up, which I did at times. My brother and I picked up some coal. We used it to heat the post office that my mother had. So that was a help.
Can you list all the buildings in that picture? What they were, each one? What each building was? There was the baggage one.
No, I didn't get that.
Pardon?
I didn't get
what each building is?
What they are.
Yeah, what they are. And the one that still stands today?
Oh, the one, yes, the building across the track was a grocery store at the time. And that would make two stores in Slocum. The one behind us in this view, and of course this is the signal tower and the station. And I guess I mentioned these before. There was another building, I think was a Railway Express building for storage there, and a coal shed. And this is the corner of Indian Corner Road, and Slocum Road goes off to the left, or straight off to the left.
And how was it, did you ever work the handcart? Did you ever work the handcart kept in the building?
There was a handcart used to bring the mail from the store, from the trains over to the post office, but I didn't see much of that. There was maybe you're referring to the question about whether they name Slocums. I often wondered where that name Slocums, the S come from, to make it Slocum Station, because the name board on the station was Slocums, not Slocum. And the thought I had, and I don't know if anywhere near right or not, is that during the early days, there was perhaps a person that lived in Slocum, and he was someplace near the tracks, and he probably met trains way back in the early days. The early time I think of, and I have no idea that it's right or not, it would be like as early as the Providence and Stonington Railroad, as before the New Haven, where this person, let's call him Mr. Slocum, I don't know if that's right or not, and he met the trains, and so his place would be called Slocum's. The conductor would call off the name Slocum's for the station stop, and they still did. For as long as trains stopped there, the conductor would approaching Slocum Station would call out Slocum's. And
that building burnt.
And that building burnt, and it was thought that was caused by sparks from a railroad engine, from a train going through, the steam trains then, and that could be sparks. I thought it was that burned it down.
How old were you when you got your first car? Your father got the first car?
I probably was maybe 13, 14. I mean, not up to driving age. So.
What did you do before you had a car?
We traveled before we had a car. We would go anywhere. Like we traveled by train. We'd go into the city, travel by train. But we didn't go like short distances to the beach or anything like that until we had a car. We really didn't need to, because from that standpoint, because we had grocery stores and other store for dry goods and everything in town, in Slocum.
And what did the bread man do when there were snow drifts?
And he got the bread. You got bread there every day in Mr. Wilson's grocery store, and during the winter time there'd be some big storms and snow drifts, and it's difficult. The road would be really blocked, and you couldn't get through there. But the bread man, we always to say, the bread man always got through. And they got through because he was able to, because of the wind and the snow blew drifts across the field and bare spots. So he was able to find all the bare spots where he turned onto Indian Corner Road at the beginning part, and find his way across all the fields on there, because there's bare spots and other spots were not quite so bare, would still be able to maneuver them and get through. So we used to say the bread man always got through.
More than the mailman?
What's that?
More than the mailman? You know how they say the mail always gets delivered, but for you it was the bread always
that
gets
mail,
delivered?
the mail always, the mail always came off the train. We never got the mail anywhere else but off the train. And so, from the Railway Express. And there was at that time too, you could say you lived in say Westerly or Shannock, and you wanted to write a letter to somebody in Slocum. It would be delivered. You could write it, and before the ink was dry, you could almost mail it and get it posted on the train. Meet the train, have somebody put down for it, hand it to the railway clerk, mail clerk, and it would he'd sort them out on the train. Mail would be sorted out and bagged for different station stops, and the one for Slocum would be thrown off at Slocum. I say thrown off, but set off. I mean, the train stopped and you picked it. It was set off. So and delivered to the post office, and it could be delivered, and you could read there. You could see your mail the same day or a few hours, actually. I've known that to happen once.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Tell me about your experience when you were bagging the potatoes.
About potatoes.
Potato. Tell me about the potato fields.
Oh, potato shed. Potatoes were bagged and brought in to the potato shed, put on scales, and it would bag. The bags were on the scales so that we'd have the right weight, and they'd twist up the two sides of the top of the potatoes, make like ears, and we'd have like a needle and a bit of heavy, almost like little, like twine or stronger than that, and wind it around the ears and put the pin through to kind of make it stay, and have the two ears. You could pick up the bag with those two ears, on the two ears of the bag itself that were wound that way, and put them on hand trucks and wheel it into a waiting truck that was right by the end of the platform of the farm, where the potatoes were sorted out and loaded right into the truck. I used to help with that and run the hand trucks into the truck and put the bags in the deeper part of the truck, and then go get some more bags to help load the truck up, so forth. And there'd be where the truck matched the platform was a little bump there, and I used to like to go push that truck over the bump, and it'd make a nice little, bounce there. And the boss came over and he told me, he said, "Don't do that till you get them bruised that way." So I stopped. But I don't know what happened to potatoes. They just went into the city, and what was done with them next. Whether they just went into the general market, I don't know.
Now, your mother was the postmistress?
Yes.
What years was that?
Well, I don't have that figure at hand. I think it's on a...
She was the postmistress in that building? Was that the 30s she was a postmistress?
I would say in the 30s, yes, in the 30s. In the 30s. But I don't know the dates, because there's a postmaster list that gives the dates on all the things. And she was also postmaster in the general store down the corner. But she moved up here because Mr. Wilson wanted the space that was used for the post office down there for adding a section for dry goods and so forth, and overalls and shoes and stuff.
Now, there was somebody who lived in this house, right?
And on the other side of the house, there's a section there that was a retired railroad man lived there.
So, Mr. Noss, what is it like to go from a one-room schoolhouse to using a computer at nearly 101?
It was, I would almost say it was nearly seamless.
God cracks me up.
Seamless. It just took it.
Is that the secret, Mr. Noss? Is that the secret? You just take it?
You just take it as seamless. Because there was difficulties along the way, but they were taken care of because I had help. Of course, my first computer was given to me by my daughter's friend, and of course my daughter had had a computer of her own. She had taken classes on computer technology and so forth, so she was able to help me through all the difficulties and get started and so forth. And then from there, as I did things myself, I tend to remember them a little, so I'd get stuck again. And there were times when I did get stuck, and I'd just get on the phone and call my daughter up, and she'd put me square, and I'd get your point there.
Do you remember why we started doing this?
Talking about history.
Why we started doing what we're doing right now? I do.
What did we do?
Jim found this postcard.
Oh, the Split Rock. Split Rock, yeah, that's what started it all.
So Jim found this postcard, which says Split Rock, Slocum's, Rhode Island. He emails me and said, "What is this?" And he goes, "Should we ask Mr. N?" So I emailed you a copy of it. Then you started emailing me back various ideas you had.
You had it posted in the post office too for
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We were trying to find Split Rock. We were asking people. We had to post it. Ernie and I went driving around to Split Rock Trailer Park.
Or was it Exeter?
Nobody knew.
It's an nobody knows. Yeah, it is. It's an Exeter, just over the line. But nobody was responding. Ernie and I went driving around to different places. Nobody knows about Split Rock. There are other Split Rocks, but nobody knows this Split Rock. So then,
Not easy to find.
So then you end up starting working on the project, and you remembered that somebody told you about this in the 30s.
It has something to do with the railroad track too.
Yeah, someone from the railroad.
Well, there was the second. This is after the railroad station was closed. The railroad crossing still had to be kept open and cared for, watched for, and so the person that worked in the tower was no longer a towerman, but he was a crossing watchman, a different person. He put the gates up and down when the trains came, see. So me and another fellow was up there, and on the evening shift, or the second shift, the watchman, he was a friendly person, so we go up and we talk with him, and so he had been one that had traveled, hunted all through that area, through Liberty Road and all through there. He lived down down toward near the curve of the track, where the curve goes toward Kingston again. What's that road? Wolf Rock Road.
Oh, okay.
Wolf Rock Road. He lived down toward Wolf Rock Road. And so he told me about that. So I think I went in there and I found it about just where he said it was, and I walked through it. Long before you found it again.
Yes. And then, well, can you tell me about this picture, Mr. Noss?
This
This picture.
That picture, oh yes. That's a photo of my three children. They're standing under the signboard of the Slocum station. It was set up, and they're standing in the very spot where the stations used to stand, where their grandfather worked. That's quite a picture. That the station's gone, but the signboard overhead says Slocum's, and they were right there where their grandfather used to work. And that's long gone now. Even that's not around.
But you're still here.
Pardon?
But you're still here.
Yeah. So far, yes.